recording is in progress, so we can begin by opening the Norton Conservation Commission meeting on Monday, October 18th, 2021. And the time now is 6:35 p.m. And as with prior remote meetings, we are going to begin with the preamble requiring the remote access meeting. And Dan Pearson, if you'd be willing to read that preamble, and then we can officially open the meeting.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Members of the public attending this public hearing / meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *6 if participating by phone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Norton Cable website, www.nortonmediacenter.org, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
All right, thank you, Dan. So tonight, we would like to welcome our new Conservation Director, John Thomas. I guess you've been on the job about a week and getting all the dials and buttons figured out, but so far things look pretty good. And we need to start by enumerating the members of the commission that are present tonight. We have a full commission, myself, Julian K. We have Carrie Schneider, Dan Pearson, Dan Doyle, Ron O'Reilly, and Jean Blood. Usually we have Megan, our assistant, online. She is not online tonight, but we'll be back next time. So with that said, unless there are any questions from commission members, we'll proceed with our first item of the agenda, which is noted to be abbreviated a Notice of Resource Area Delineation, DEP file number 250-1084 concerning Pine Street. This has been before us previously. It is currently under peer review. And John, where do we stand with the peer review process on that? Is that was that one of the emails you sent tonight saying it had been completed, or is this still pending?
It's still pending. I believe Art Allen is on vacation this week, but he is going to get that done as soon as he can.
All right, so that will likely, so we don't have an app. They requested a continuance.
They have not requested a continuance. We just do not have, I didn't have the ability to take a look at the site myself. I would have if I knew about it a little bit sooner, but that one was already contracted with the peer review consultant.
Okay. And we'll look at the participants list and I don't see any hands up.
There's a question in
We're
the
gonna
chat.
Review the hands up. I think current, there is a question in the chat. Okay. Can we get an explanation of the request? Whoever put that question in the chat, can you, it looks like Debbie and Andrew Dage, can you unmute and give me some more details? I see you're unmuted, so if you can go ahead with your question. I'm wondering if they may not have a microphone. Anyone else get an idea as to the explanation of the request? I mean, the nature of this is a notice of resource area delineation, which on Pine Street, which basically means that an applicant will ask for the commission to certify that their wetland delineation is accurate according to the Wetland Protection Act. So that is this process. Okay, I see your second chat. So under the Wetlands Protection Act, if someone wants to know exactly where their wetlands are, they hire a wetlands scientist who delineates the wetlands as defined under the Wetland Protection Act. It comes with a 100-foot buffer. The Wetland Protection Act regulation of any activity within that 100-foot buffer, and generally activities within the wetlands are prohibited, except for certain limited activities such as crossing the wetlands. And that's what this particular process is. It's just mapping the wetlands within the land. The commission reviews it and agrees, and then issues a notice of resource area delineation, which is good, I believe, up to 10 years. Is that correct, John? Or anyone else want to offer that?
It's good. It's valid for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. Okay. All right. So, okay. So
more fundamentally, if I could, you were notified because the applicant has the obligation to notify abutters within 100 feet of the property. That's why you received that letter.
all right. And I guess Claire Hodge-Bloom is actually representing the applicant. If you want to unmute and add anything that is relevant.
Hi, thank you. Yes, for the record, Claire Hogebohm with LEC Environmental Consultants. We submitted the application for the ANRAD form, and I think you covered the general question as far as what the ANRAD is aiming for, which is to receive confirmation of the wetland resource area boundaries. And since we submitted the application, we were working with Jen prior to her full-time departure and Megan on the peer review services. So as far as I understand, as John summarized earlier, Art Allen has that underway and is prepared to review the wetland boundaries.
All right. And so continuation of this until our next meeting, and unfortunately it's not
Julian, it looks like Michael Fiore also has a question.
You have a hand up there, Michael Fiore.
all right.
Yes, hello. Michael Fiore, 135 Pine Street, and one of the abutters. I just wanted to, I didn't know who the representative from LEC was, and I just wanted to make sure. But this is basically, it's the initial step of developing that land, correct? I mean, that's why this is all being done.
Well, sometimes it's for land development, or sometimes it's for understanding what the potential use of the property can be. It's not always necessarily for land development. It's just to kind of get probably an assessment value for the property as well.
Okay, and I just had a question. I go back in those woods all the time. The trails that were mentioned, I use quite a bit, and I did run into the surveyors on occasion back there, and they were there during the summer when the water tables were lowest. I was just, I don't know about how all that works, but in the springtime, a lot of those trails are underwater, so I don't know how they can what the process is to determine what the water level is year round when they take the readings at the lowest possible levels.
Right. I can understand that interest there. So the surveyors were there picking up the wetland flags that LEC had hung, and we did our evaluation in late spring and early summer. And when it comes to determining the boundary of wetlands, typically you do take into account the physical features like standing water, but there are other features to also take note of, like the existing vegetation, as well as the soil characteristics. So ultimately, you are able to delineate wetlands in drier times of year. While it might be difficult in some cases, there are other features beyond just standing water to determine where a wetland boundary is.
So
Okay.
I just want to preface, there's a lot of discussion in the chat regarding development. This permit application that's in front of us it's not focused on potential development. It's just the confirmation of wetland resource area. So I just want to remind everybody that's in for the meeting this evening that that's the focus, is just figuring out what the potential resources are on the property, and then figuring out what the boundary is, and then letting the Conservation Commission make that determination.
And just to add to that, we have no information about the intent of the owner of the property in this process. So we don't have any inkling as to what the owner wants to do with the property at this time. Now, unless there are further questions, I think we can consider a motion. Actually,
Julian?
there's a
Bob-
hand up with
Bob has
a gentleman identified.
Yes, hi, this is, can you hear me?
Yeah, I see. So Bob, we can hear you. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, this is Bob Butler. I'm at 133 Pine Street, so I'm one of the abutters as well. I'm curious if you've looking at the map of the delineation, based on that, I mean, is there really any possibility that much could be built on that land based on how much is mapped as a wetland? Or has that not been looked at yet?
At this point in time, that's not the focus of this permit application. It's just figuring out what the wetland resource areas are on the property. The next step for the consultant and the applicant would be to come back with a notice of intent application showing them any sort of proposed land use. And that would be potentially the next step in this process.
Okay. I just, I noticed, on looking at the map, on the vernal pool that's mapped, there's wetlands on both the north and south side of the vernal pools. And it seems like they're a little bit, based on, I also, go back on those trails throughout the year. And based on that, I feel like the wetlands are a little bit wider than have been mapped on either side of the vernal pools, or of the one major vernal pool rather. But I know there's a lot to look at as far as the soil and the vegetation, I guess, that determines that. But just based on, the last 10 years, there've been a lot of years where that's been underwater for quite a few months. Just
Right.
want to point that out.
Well, the peer review consultant that would be looking at the property is pretty good at finding any discrepancies in the wetland delineations. So I'm confident that he will be able to pick up on any erroneous or errors in the delineation.
Okay. I just want to point out also that, there's the Rumford and the Wading Rivers are both on the south side of that land, and I think become the 3 Mile River. they come together so that, it's a major, waterway there with the, two rivers coming to form the third river there. And just wanted to point that out. And I think there's also historical land in that same area as far as like King Philip War. Just want to point that out too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could we just repeat, I should know this, of course, but the Rumford and what other river?
The Wading River.
Thank you.
And they come together, become the 3 Mile River.
Thank
you. Yep.
All right, so unless there are further questions, we can consider a motion for continuation of this hearing. Now, I'm assuming our next meeting, and it's unfortunately not specified on our current agenda, but I assume it's the 8th. Does that sound correct, John? Which is the November 8th, which is the second Monday. And then after that, it would be the 22nd, I believe. So I'm assuming, Claire, the next meeting to the 8th will be acceptable to your client?
Yes, let's go with the 8th, and then I'll be in touch with Art Allen with his review, and if he has any discrepancies in the field he wants to go over, we can work that out. And if I need to continue, I'll be reaching out to John and Megan to request the continuance to figure out those details with Art.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
excuse me, I think there's another question on the floor.
Yeah, Bob Butler, I think, has his hand up again.
Well, I'm not sure it's up again. Was it taken down, or?
Maybe it just didn't.
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just need to figure out how to lower the hand, but oh yeah, the hand's gone. All right, very good. So I think we can now consider a motion for the continuation of file number 250-1084 to our next meeting, which is November 8th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue file number 250-1084 to the November 8th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
And we have a motion made by Dan Pearson and seconded by?
I'll second.
Was that Lisa or Carrie who caught it?
It was both. Take your pick.
I think you were in by 3 microseconds or 3 milliseconds. So motion made by Dan Pearson, seconded by Lisa. Going to do a roll call vote, beginning with Lisa and Carrie.
Aye.
And Dan Pearson and Dan Doyle.
Aye.
Aye.
And Ron O'Reilly and Jean.
Aye.
I think that was an aye coming from Jean, although you are muted. So I will throw in an aye, so the motion carries.
I just had one quick question. I could be thinking of something else, but would that be a DEP file number or an ANRAD file number?
They're both the same.
Okay.
Yeah, ANRAD's notice of intents. They have both shared DEP file numbers.
Okay.
All right. Our next item does not have a full file number. It at least at this time of the agenda printing. So it is another abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. And it concerns West Main Street, map 22, parcels 2.1, 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. And do we have, I guess there are some items that weren't available at the time of the printing of the agenda, but do we have a representative of that project?
Yeah, this is Michael Larkin. Unfortunately, with a software upgrade, my video is not working, but I am here on behalf of regarding 224 West Main Street.
All right. Well, why don't you give us a description? I don't know if you have a plan that you can share, or maybe John, do we have a plan on the computer that we can put up?
I just gave Mr. Larkin co-hosting capabilities, so he should be able to share stuff.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. 1 second. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
We can. It may need to be enlarged a little for us.
Everyone can see that right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So the property here is at 224 West Main Street. The good thing about this property is with the wetlands, there's a slope right here, so it's pretty well defined. So I'm not sure what the status is with the town going out to review it. It's been delineated on our part, picked up by Rim Engineering. And of course, as you said, Mr. Chairman, back in the last application there, this is what we're looking to do to get this approved. We haven't got a DP number as of yet, but here's what we're looking at right now. And it's, as I said, it's pretty well defined. So I think it should be easy for the admin and board to make a determination on this.
So just to provide a little insight.
Would you be willing just to
Go ahead, Julian.
Well, if you could scroll up to reveal the locus map. I think is not a site that all of us are familiar with. I'm assuming it's across from, oh yes, okay, so.
It's just adjacent to the church there.
Yes, okay, got it.
So speaking of locus, before we move on, sir, you referenced 224 West Main. The application references 0 West Main, and the plan doesn't have an address at all. So could you please just rectify those 3 things at some point?
Yeah, so we're calling it 224 West Main Street.
You're calling it. Well, what is it according to the assessors? You can call it anything you want.
There's 3 parcels there. That's why I think overall it's 24, but the parcels 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. There's in essence 3 parcels here.
All right. What's the address on file at the assessors? That's what you need to really go by. Is it 0 or 224? This is just a discrepancy that needs to be cleaned up and then also added to the plan. Right now, the plan doesn't have an address on it either. So if you could just take care of that.
Yeah, I'll confirm that. That's not a problem.
So Michael, one more thing that I wanted to ask is, has this even been submitted to DEP? Because I was looking through their records on their database and I did not see this project on their ticker at all.
Yeah, I checked that as well, but I do have the green card back from them, so I can call them tomorrow and see where we're at.
I would call them tomorrow just to make sure. And, you know, once the DEP number is released for this, I will actually go out to the property and take a look at the flags and make sure they're adequate.
Yeah, because I did get also the check is being cashed as well from them. So I did get that.
Okay.
So once I get that, you'll say that you'll go out and check the site then at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
So just for further clarification, what you have up on the screen appears to be just one parcel, and the other, or is it kind of a combination of 3 parcels that are listed?
Correct. That's correct. There's 3 parcels make up this 1 parcel.
Okay, which is what you're illustrating now on the screen.
That's correct.
All right.
So I think then, based on what John said, if once we get the DEP number, I'll confirm with John, and then we can get him to review this. And then so for the next meeting on November 11th, we should have all that hopefully resolved and rectified by that point. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah. One more question I had was, is there the same ownership for all 3 parcels, or is it shared ownership, or is it segregated?
Same ownership.
Okay. All right.
So is there any reason why you're not showing, I'm back to the assessors again. So have these lots been combined? Is that why you're showing it as one big lot and not 3 separate lots?
Ultimately, we haven't determined exactly what we're going to, finalize what we're going to finish with the project or what's to develop on it. So I think for you guys, it's better to show one parcel, and then depending on what we're going to do with the NOI, and then we can determine what, like, say we're going to divide into 2 or 1 or whatever, or just keep it as one whole parcel. We can determine that point. So I don't want to get everyone confused that it's 3 different parcels. This way, it's easy to see the whole thing in one, and then we can determine what kind of project if moving forward, and then we can determine exactly how it's going to be broken up.
So one recommendation from me is probably show the existing lot lines on there.
Yeah.
That way it kind of locks it in with, and it's consistent with what the current assessors is. I know the intent is for you to have a clean slate and then potentially subdivide it later, but I would really recommend to just show everything as existing.
Not a
Yes.
problem. That's fine.
Clarification. 2 questions back. John asked Michael to go to the site to do X. What was it? Go out to the site and do something.
Get the DEP number.
Yeah, but
Okay.
John's going to confirm the wetland boundary, Dan.
Okay.
That's why John's going to the site.
Yeah.
Oh, John's going out to the site.
Yes, I will. I'll be going out there with my trusty auger.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so this is actually not within Wetland Protection Act jurisdiction, but just examining the plan, I see you have 110,000 square feet of upland. And what is the zoning in this area? Is it 60,000 square feet or 40?
Well, it's village commercial, so let's confirm exactly what that is.
Okay, so it's commercial, not residential.
That's correct.
All right. All right. Well, but again, that's kind of outside our purview. That would be obviously planning board. So unless let me just look at the participants list. There may be some hands up with regard to this. I don't see hands up at this time. So considering the outstanding information, which I understand is going to be a DEP number, getting the wetland boundaries as delineated, confirmed by our director, and anyone else have other information to be provided?
And I think John wanted the divided into 3 parcels showing what.
Oh, yes, the 3 parcels added to the plan. So,
And confirm the address, please.
oh, yes,
Yep.
confirm the address. So those are the items to be presented at a continuation meeting. And just to refresh my memory, I thought it was November 8th is our next meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so is November 8th a reasonable time, Michael?
That's fine.
All right, so unless I'm going to review the participants list again and see if there are any hands up, I do not see them. So we can consider a motion for continuation of this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue file 250-XXX to the November 8th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Second.
We have a motion made by Dan Pearson, seconded by Dan Doyle for the continuation of this hearing to November 8th. And we will do a roll call vote as usual, starting with Carrie and Lisa.
Aye. Aye.
Dan Pearson, Dan Doyle,
Aye.
Aye.
Ron and Jean.
Aye.
Aye. And I'll throw in an aye. The motion carries. So thank you, Michael. We'll see you.
Thank you very much,
next
Mr.
time.
Chair,
Thank
board
you.
members. Thank you, John.
All right, very good. So our next item is notice of intent file number DP-1082, Jeffrey O'Neill concerning 0 Leonard Street. This has been continued most recently from September 27th, but also was heard 2 meetings previous to that. And we have a representative of the applicant. Is that correct?
Yep.
Correct.
For the record, I have to recuse.
All right. Brandon, go ahead.
Yep. Good evening, Brandon Carr with the Preet Engineering. As the chair said, we were here a little over a month ago. Since then, I was just going to give you an update on what we've been working on. So I believe you're aware Horsley Witten was assigned by the town. We coordinated with the planning board to do a combined peer review for the project. We're also before the planning board for the site plan reviews. So we've received comments from Horsley Witten about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I believe. We got their stormwater review, and then today we got their site plan more for the planning board aspects of the project. So we're working through responding to those comments. No real game changers, I would say, comment wise. That we're not anticipating any major changes to the site plan. Limit of work, levels of impervious, kind of the stormwater methodology. To that, I'll share my screen just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. But if everyone remembers, it's off of Leonard Street, off of 123 here in the back. We're calling it phase 2 of the Blue Star Business Park. There's a kind of a large wetland kind of in this area here, and there's a wetland that comes out like that, so access through here, and then the development is happening back here. There's also a wetland in this back corner, so the development's kind of happening in this area. Remember the site plan, there's 2 buildings. So this is the roadway, access roadway coming in from Leonard Street. It was already, the roadway was designed previously with a cul-de-sac here, and it's been approved through Concom earlier this spring, that roadway portion of the project, but we're before you for these 2 buildings because we are working in the 100-foot buffer along the southern edge and then a little bit over here on the western side. So, but basically the overall site plan hasn't really changed much. Like I said, we're working through the comments with the peer reviewer. It's really not much that will affect the areas within the Concom's jurisdiction, which again, I said is mainly down along here. And then this pond on the left here, this pond D, which handles a lot of the parking lot area. There'll be some small revisions to that, not a lot of, nothing changing the limit of work or really the size of the pond, just some design tweaks to the pond. So really, I don't have anything really new to present tonight. We're anticipating responding to those peer review comments probably this week or early next week to both, and we would copy both conservation and the planning board on that. So I'm not sure if anyone has, here has looked at the peer review and has specific comments or has any comments since the last hearing, but I really don't have much new to present other than to say that we're working through the response to comments stage of the project.
All right. So any questions from members of the commission?
Well, yes, as long as we're revisiting this, might we go back to the last screen, the one with lots of green on it?
The aerial image there?
The one with the, well, not that one either, but, well, anyway, I can just ask, yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Now, in that site, did the commission ask for some kind of compensatory, did we, I guess this is to the commission, did we not ask for some kind of compensatory planting or something? I mean, that upper left-hand corner is, that's wetland, is it?
Yeah, so this, you're talking about this area of the site is all wetlands, correct?
Right. And so were we asking that they put something else in? I mean, put in some compensatory vegetation somewhere? Or do something? I mean,
Well, you may be referring to the discussion of the berm, which is in the direction of Burt Street, between Burt Street and the building. There's a berm up there, and we were discussing the kind of plantings that were appropriate for good screening of the building.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I don't recall the other, but go ahead.
Well, I feel like this is a dumb question, but how did we approve a plan that was, or why? I mean, I don't mean this to sound provocative, but why did we approve a plan that takes out that corner of the land?
Well, I don't think we approved a plan yet. I mean, this is part of the continuing hearing process. There were discussions, but I think we'll have to.
We approved a plan for the roadway, correct?
We
Correct.
approved the roadway.
That is correct.
Yeah, so the roadway was approved under a notice of intent earlier this spring, and there was some small wetland implications, I think, to widen some of the existing crossings that were there, and compensation and plantings were part of that submission that were approved previously. So this is outside the limits of that previously approved project. That was kind of the road to access this back piece.
That's accurate, Brandon.
So Dan, could that be what you were referring to as the prior filing?
Well, it's possible that I misunderstand something, and as long as it's copacetic with my fellow commissioners.
Yeah, but I think that is because I remember there was some discussion because parts of the road did have to be widened, and I think there was a small area of compensation as part of that plan. So that may be what you're recalling.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is still the actual buildings and the plantings associated with that is still under continuing review. And in particular, the peer review, I guess the stormwater primarily, that's being done in combination with planning.
Correct. Yeah, they're looking at the stormwater, the landscaping, all the site plan aspects, lighting, everything for planning board. But they're also, looking at the notice of intent as well.
All right. So there's a lot yet pending, and unless there are specific, further questions from members of the commission or participants in the meeting, and I don't see any hands up there. So I think we can consider a motion to continue, and I'm assuming November 8th is a reasonable time frame.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue file number 250-1082 to the November 8th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
All right, so we have a motion made, but I just want to be sure no further questions from the commission, and it don't appear to be, so we can entertain a second for the motion made by Dan Pearson.
Second.
I'll second.
I think Ron got the second in, so motion made by Dan Pearson, seconded by Ron O'Reilly to continue file number 250-1082 until November 8th. So roll call vote, starting with Dan Doyle and Dan Pearson.
Aye.
Aye.
And Lisa is an abstention. And Ron and Jean, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And Carrie?
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So the motion carries. The meeting is continued until November 8th. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is another abbreviated notice of area delineation, file number 250-1081 for DeSuco AZA Realty Trust, 0 Barrows Street. This was last heard on the 27th of September, but it also was heard in 2 prior meetings. So do we have a representative of the applicant, or do we have all of the information submitted?
No, they requested a continuance till the next meeting.
Okay. All right. So we can entertain such a motion.
I'll make the motion to continue file 250-1081 to the November 8th meeting.
Second.
All right. So motion made by Dan Doyle, and I think Lisa beat Dan Pearson by a few milliseconds there. So seconded by Lisa. And for continuation of this until November 8th, roll call vote, beginning with Dan Pearson and Lisa.
Aye.
Aye.
And Dan Doyle and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And Jean and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So this hearing is continued until November 8th. Next on the agenda is file number 250-1070. This is a notice of intent for White Oak Share Corporation concerning 0 Rear Eddy Street. This hearing has been continued multiple times, most recently continued on the 27th of September. So would you be the representative for this applicant, Tim?
I sure would be. Good evening, everyone. This is Tim McGuire. For the record, I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of SureCorp Ltd. Now, we understand that it's been a while since we've been before the commission for this project, and we very much appreciate your continued review and patience with the project. Most recently, we've submitted a set of revised plans and a revised stormwater report to address previous concerns from the peer reviewer, John Chesia. Once those have been submitted, we just received this morning some pretty substantial comments back from Mr. Chesia at this time that we have not had the chance to review or not had the chance to address them all, as we just got them today. And our stormwater team will be reviewing those and working through them for a revised submittal. There were some concerns with the site plans from last hearing that we did have addressed in regards to showing the riverfront area. And I can do a quick screen share. So we have, here's a set of the colored up site plans. So as a reminder, along the Taunton Ave here, there was a question of riverfront coming from the output of Meadowbrook Pond here, flowing into a spillway and then underground under Route 40. Survey determined that the stream, the perennial portions of this resource area do flow for less than 200 feet underground. So therefore, the entirety of this does have riverfront area, which we have shown on the plans and outlined here. The inner riparian in light blue and the outer riparian here in dark blue. Just minor grading associated with the new access path here, all of which occurs within existing degraded surfaces, which I think I have to stop a screen share to show the site photo I have queued up, which is right here. So all of those impacts are occurring within this area of an existing gravel cart path, which is by definition lacking topsoils and vegetation, therefore degraded riverfront area. And I'll bring the plans back up just for discussion. We did calculate the total on-site riverfront area because, as a reminder, the entirety of this locus site is shown here, and it's very large and encompasses the entirety of Meadowbrook Pond in addition to the perennial stream Meadowbrook that flows into the pond. And total on-site riverfront area is about 1.5 million square feet. We're only impacting about 6,000 square feet of which, so we are well below the allowable 10% at about 0.39% of on-site riverfront impacts associated with the grading and the in the entrance there within existing degraded surfaces. Now, we did also submit a memo to the commission in regards to previous concerns from an attorney hired by the abutter in regards to the pond's status as a river. In addition to articulating previous examples of which the commission has identified the pond and treated it as such, we included an in-depth review of the regulatory definitions of a pond and a river, a pond being a body of water greater than 10,000 square feet as identified by such on the most recent USGS map, as it is here, Meadowbrook Pond, unless determined by the issuing authority to have primarily riverine characteristics, including unidirectional flow and vertical stratification. In order to prove the unidirectional flow, we submitted the videos that I did show at the last hearing, demonstrating of me tossing a banana peel and a stick in the river and showing that those did not indeed flow. So we maintain, based on the regulations, that the pond still should be identified as such as the regulations articulate and as the commission has previously treated it. And as a reminder for the remainder of the work on site, the entirety of our limit of work is only, if you can see my cursor, in this small upland portion of the site. Only a handful of portions are actually touched by buffer zones. So you can see colored in blue is the wetland line associated with the pond, and then an intermittent stream that runs up here. In orange, I have the limit of work, and just past that in green in many spots is the 100-foot buffer zone. So as a reminder, only one of these houses will be within buffer zone. The remainder of work associated with the access path, some minor grading, stormwater features, and then a little bit of grading over here. But all work is maintained outside of the town's 25-foot no disturb policy. And I believe that's about it. And I would be happy to open up to the commission for any questions at this time. As a reminder, we'll be planning to continue in order to allot us time to address Mr. Chessia's comments on the stormwater aspects. Thank you.
Quick question. You said that there would be, that the riverfront area was 1.5 million square feet, but you were only going to use X. What's the X?
Are you asking for the total on-site riverfront impacts?
Yes.
So impacts to riverfront total 6,106 square feet.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Yeah, and those are all, I can pull that plan back up. As shown here, the limit of work you can't really see zoomed out in orange right there.
All right, so
Tim, I think if I might, last time we got into the riverfront issue, we suggested that you look at historic USGS maps. So you're saying that entire system is a pond, but in fact, when you look at historic aerials, it absolutely has riverine characteristics. And I'm wondering if you looked at any historic aerials or USGS maps.
Sure, we looked at historical aerials and USGS maps. A lot of the aerials, it appeared that there was algal growth and plant matter appearing on the periphery of the ponds that gave the impression that there was a stream in the middle, deeper lotic portions of the pond. And across the USGSs, it's been fairly consistent in regards to specifically calling it a pond. And in the letter here that we submitted, we did articulate that a perennial stream stops being a perennial stream at the input of a pond, or being the area called out as such on the most recent USGS map. So seeing as though it was consistent with previous USGS maps calling it a pond, we're comfortable presenting the determination that this is a pond to the commission rather than a river.
Yeah, I uncovered otherwise, and I would like you to take a peek at historicaerials.com, which showed the river, I think almost 900 feet. I want to say 900 feet. What direction was that? It was a while ago. Closer to 140. I mean, it clearly showed a thread of a river going much further than what we show today on the USGS, which tells me there's riverine characteristics beneath that pond. So perhaps maybe the surface area of the pond has flooded or, has grown over the years, but not the riverine characteristics of it.
So just to clarify that I understand what you said, when you say going towards 140, you're saying that the historical aerials show the perennial stream going closer to the east here than the pond?
Yes, I think it was about 900 additional feet.
Okay. In that case, depending on, even if that was the case on a conservative estimate, which we, most of the proposed work still is well away from that input to Meadowbrook Pond over here. I can absolutely take a closer look into that and supplement with some historical aerials and some GIS outlines of that.
Yes, if you could. If you go to historicaerials.com, you'll see a series of aerials and USGS maps that definitely show that stream channel longer than the current.
I will also add there's the USGS service as well, which is called TopoView. You can use that one. It's very good to kind of just search by the address, and you can have certain overlays. Some of the stuff goes all the way back to the 1800s, so it's very useful.
And I was just going to follow up on Lisa's comment. I mean, just given the shape of this pond, I wonder if, did you use any flow meters or anything? I mean, I would expect there to be slow flow if there's any flow, and I'm not sure that the banana peel and stick test are necessarily adequate to pick up on slow flow. So I don't know if we have access to flow meters, or if you can go back in and take a look and really get in there. I'd feel much more comfortable if we had some more investigation there.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that further and supplement with more information. But again, I understand that with new information, the commission can make a new decision, but our presentation of it as such is consistent with previous filings that have happened in the vicinity. After some file review with the town, we found several, and I won't go through each of these individually now, but we did find several sign-offs from Jennifer on previous filings and the commission determinations determining that it was a pond in the past. And we are asking that the commission, accept our regulatory compliance analysis as is consistent with previous filings have demonstrated. Because the regulations do again state that, as shown on the most recent USGS map, even if historically on other USGS maps it was identified as a river, which it was my research that that was not the case, still on the most recent one, I would think that if it didn't list it as a pond, then the arguments could be made stronger in regards to the presence of riverine characteristics, which we still we were not able to observe in the field up to this point.
All right, and so just one further item. I know the specific peer review comments by John Chesia are going to be a detailed discussion at another meeting, presumably the next meeting. And I see John is on the call, so this might not be fair to put you on the spot, but are there any burning statements that you feel are relevant to the current discussion, or we'll wait for the future?
I think there's a few things that would be helpful for the applicant to understand. I think one of them is, the basic design. This is designed as a roadway, essentially. It's not a subdivision road, but it's laid out like a road. It's got a cul-de-sac, 20 feet wide. It's got a 0.2% slope, which I have never, ever seen in 30 plus years of engineering. I think there's a fundamental problem with the design that needs to be addressed from the very start, and that's part of it. The road has to drain. It has to drain to the places you want the water to go, and it's got to be treated and infiltrated and all of those things. And when I look at the plan, you got a road that fundamentally doesn't seem to have the right grading. The plans have a 2-foot contour interval through a very flat section, which is inadequate, which was in my first letter. There doesn't seem to be a connection between reading the DEP handbook specifications and coming up with the BMPs on the plans and how that's put together. There's a lot of my comments were in my very first letter, and they're the same. There's still no O&M. There's no draft SWIP. You can't really even read the watershed plans. This is one meeting I wish was in person and I could show you what was provided and to try to understand it. There's no labels for contours. It doesn't define all of the areas, doesn't define all the cover types, doesn't provide enough groundwater separation. We did test pits out there. We had a Zoom call with the applicant's engineer, and it doesn't seem like it's gone very far after that.
I can pass this
All right.
comment along to our engineering and stormwater team for sure. I did have a question for you, Mr. Chesia, in regards to the draft SWIP. Did you, seeing as though we will be likely having some minor plan revisions?
Minor plan revision?
To the plans themselves rather than the stormwater report, would you become, in order to get the draft SWIP in your hands, at what point would you like to see the revised plans? Just to clarify, that's because that's something that the commission would like to see prior to the issuance of an order of conditions, correct?
My understanding is that typically the commission gets the SWIP before they close the hearing. So
Okay.
yes, if there's going to be another go around, you don't necessarily have to do it. If you think there's going to be a bunch more comments, but I think you got to read the comments carefully. You got to look at the DEP handbook carefully. You got to look at what's called the specifications under volume 2, chapter 2. It's not a guidance, it's specifications. So if you're putting in an infiltration basin, all the features, all the access, all of those things have to be provided. It's got to look like the pictures, like the specifications. And I don't think we're anywhere close to that right now.
All right, so Tim, it seems your team has its work cut out for them. And unless there are other specific questions, we can consider.
I have one other
Sure.
that I know Jennifer has moved on, but one of the things that she had mentioned to me and had talked about is floodplain.
Okay.
Plans, the floodplains, the limit of the wetlands, but is there any, it's a zone A undefined. So typically you would have to use the graphic off of the FEMA map as the line. It just says it's the wetland line, and I don't know what supporting documentation has been provided. I haven't reviewed that specifically, but it's in my comments because I'm not sure how that was determined.
Absolutely. So we had addressed this at the previous hearing. The average mean annual high water line of the pond itself up to the wetland line was 61.9, elevation 61.9. There is a spillway. Let me bring up the plans real quick to guide my explanation. Sorry, give me 1 second. So, here is the ortho that does show the zone A, which we originally just had this shown, the overlay as the floodplain, but with some comments from the commission to more specifically have that shown. So like I said, we had the average mean annual high water is 61.9. The top of the concrete of this spillway here that goes about 10 feet down is elevation 61.7. So in order to overtop that at 61.7, it would have to go up that 10 or so feet. And we determined that, or we're calling the floodplain as elevation 62.5, which we view as a conservative estimate given the existing conditions of the site. The Wetland Protection Act does allow for when floodplain in a zone A is not defined for a reputable source to supplement with information to back that up. And we believe that the elevations of the spillway, the mean annual high water line, and existing conditions of the site are sufficient in order to call elevation 62.5 a conservative estimate of where the floodplain is. There's no work anywhere near the wetlands. Like I said, the closest point of work to the wetlands themselves is probably about 26 feet, where the vast majority of the site is well outside of buffer zone and not as close as those close points with grading.
So where is elevation 62.5 mapped on this resource area plan?
It's interior of the wetland line.
Is it mapped?
Are you asking if the contour itself is shown on the site plan?
Right.
It's not on, I believe it's this faint line back here. Yes. Interior of the, no, that's the wetland line. Let me double check that. It may be on a separate plan sheet rather than the one I colored for presentation purposes. But I believe we did have that shown.
So 62.5 is based on what?
Well, as stated, the mean annual high water is at elevation 61.9. The spillway that I showed you towards the eastern side of the property is at elevation 61.7. So in order for that spillway to reach that elevation, it would require in order for the water level to reach that elevation, it would require the spillway to spill over. So we're using the average elevation of the wetland line as a conservative estimate, as that is beyond that.
I don't think it's got anything to do with it. It would be the amount of flow volume over the spillway. You'd have to know what the volume is and what the capacity is. It's got nothing to do with that. I mean, right now you say the average is about, what's it, 260. How much water is flowing over the spillway normally is what's that number? And you said that it's 61.7?
That's the top of the spillway, the elevation of it.
And the pond is 61.9?
Yes, the average mean annual high water line.
Okay. So then what, but it's a 100-year floodplain. So what's a 100-year storms volume or rate over the spillway? Wouldn't that be how you do the floodplain?
Yes, if we were to calculate the exact floodplain line, but we were hoping that our conservative estimate was applicable in this case, in that such calculations wouldn't be necessary, as we have work nowhere near the wetland line.
But we're affirming a flood zone for a water body in town. So we need the exact elevation based on a calculation. And I don't think the spillway elevation has anything to do with it. So in the absence of, I mean, the burden of proof is on you to provide a 100-year flood zone elevation. And I agree with Mr. Chesia that your reasoning doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, we can look into that further as well.
Yeah.
I would look at the firm maps that were probably dated back from the early 2000s just to help you out.
Yeah, the problem is, John, the first delineation they showed it undulating up and down the slope along the bank of the pond. Made zero sense.
And
that was like the red flag. Like,
right.
This makes no sense. So it has to be a constant elevation. So
and I would also preface not saying mean annual high water when you're trying to declassify the riverfront area. It's very difficult. So I would just say bank for the pond moving forward rather than mean annual high water mark, because when I think riverfront area. So I would just try to be careful with your words moving forward when you're trying to declassify a potential riverfront area scenario like this.
Okay. Ponds do have a mean annual high water level as well, but if it's easier, I'm happy with referring to it as the bank.
Okay.
I'm sorry, referring to it as bank, what? Bank?
Of pond.
Oh, bank of pond. Okay, thank you.
Because the mean annual implies there's riverfront. You're saying there's no riverfront, so you can't have it.
No, it doesn't necessarily imply riverfront. It just means that's the mean annual the average water level of the pond. But I'm happy to use other terminology.
Right.
I've heard it.
No, in this circumstance, it gets confusing for people that aren't wetland scientists. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of help here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
follow up on that. It might help if the plans they don't show the edge of the pond either. So you don't have the edge of the pond, you just have a wetland line. So you don't even know the relationship of the edge of the pond to the wetland line to any of it.
Right, so it would, the day they surveyed it, there would have been a water elevation, right? And you would have shown that.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not shown. I haven't looked at the plans recently, so.
It just shows the wetland line.
Yeah, one of the issues right now is that we've had an abnormal amount of rainfall this season. So the water line would definitely skew the elevation for adequate what the mean annual high water mark of the pond potentially could be this year.
Right, but to put it in context, what John's saying is we need to show the pond, right? Where's the water? And it would have been, no one's saying it's a fixed elevation. It would have been just whatever it was that day that they surveyed it. That's all. It's like showing the water sheet, right? It's like showing land under. Where does it begin? That's all.
So it seems that there are quite a few items to be resolved, and maybe between John and Goddard Consulting, we can get those specifics defined and resolved. So unless there are further comments, I think we can consider a continuation. John, are you all set with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the commission on how they want to go about this. I mean, I think.
No, I mean, sorry. I mean, John.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, we had a Zoom meeting with the engineer once already, and I was out in the field with, witnessing test pits. So there's been opportunity to ask and have questions answered. If you want to do it again, that's fine. I think John Thomas should be in on that as part of it. I know last time Jennifer she set up the Zoom call, and that's fine. I just think it would be wise to take, I know it's been a long time, but it seems like this isn't something that's going to be a weak turnaround here. This is some work.
All right. Well, Tim, do you want a continuation for November 8th, or I believe it was the 22nd was the next meeting in November after that?
I would defer to the applicant on this one, seeing as though he's on the call. Sam, did you have a preference for either?
Good evening, Sam Wydack. Good evening to the members of the board and the members of the community. At the time, we're going through a little bit of a health issue with our stormwater management engineer, Margaret Bacon. That has, been a difficult hurdle for her to maintain her workload as well as her health, which has, been her main and primary concern, which I can't really fault her for. So let me touch base with her, see where she's at. If we could maybe push it not to the next meeting, but the following one, that would probably be great. And the only question I have is, at what point do we get into back channel conversations about the plan and the specifics of the stormwater management, and that being a conservation or a planning board issue? That's kind of, I think, where I want to, I don't want to take up everybody's time on things and nuances that are more of a planning board thing or more of just an engineer plan design. Thank you.
All right. Well, so what I heard was November 22nd is your preferred continuation date.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
And to follow up with your other question, anything that's within 100 feet of the pond is going to be within the jurisdiction of the Concom. So the Concom is going to get involved with anything that's happening within that area, and anything outside that area would be prefaced to the planning and zoning.
All right.
Yes, I'm just referring to just depicting the whole plan. If we would, want to focus on doing more off, town public meetings until we really finalize it with Mr. Chesia, to not waste everybody's.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you can also defer to is, for instance, if you feel comfortable trying to gather all the stuff offline and then giving us an estimated time frame when you think you're going to have everything ready, just give us a kind of a time. You can definitely contact us, the office, and just let us know when you're ready. If you can get it to us two weeks prior to our meeting, I can distribute whatever to the members, and we can try to get you set up that way as well. So it's just preference on the applicant, really, if that works better for you.
All right, but I think in terms of process, we have to announce a specific continuation, a date, in order to be in compliance with wetland protection. And when you, did I misunderstand you, John? That you?
No, I mean, you can set a date if you would like. Just let us know when you think you're going to be able to get everything together.
Yeah, we'll shoot for the 22nd is fine.
Okay.
I just don't want to, try to work with everybody and not waste everybody's time with the plans. And if we can focus with Mr. Chessier, that's, I think, better for.
I think your question is, can you just work this out with Mr. Chessier and John Thomas? And the answer to that is yes. You don't need to bring this before us every week. As long as it's happening, and then John Thomas and John Chessier report back to us that say they've responded to everything satisfactorily, we're good. You eventually go over all the comments with us to make sure they were, vetted and responded to correctly, but you do not have to come before us every week with your laundry list. You can do it with John and John.
Right, but I think we've identified some specific issues that need to be resolved before the commission is going to be comfortable with this project. And it's my understanding still, we have to establish specific continuation dates. Otherwise, we have to re-advertise. So, and start the whole process again. So we'll maintain the continuity of dates. If you have to ask for a continuance at that date, then we will do so. So I think unless there are further comments, we can consider a motion to continue until November 22nd.
I'll make the motion to continue the public hearing for file 250-1070 to the November 22nd hearing.
I'll second, and also may I ask the name of the gentleman named Sam? The last name of Sam, sorry.
Widak, Whiskey India Delta Alpha Kilo.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion made by Lisa and seconded by Dan Pearson for file number 250-1070 that it be continued until November 22nd. We're going to do a roll call a vote as we have. So starting with Dan Pearson and Lisa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And then Dan Doyle and Ron O'Reilly.
Aye.
Ron, did I miss your eye in there? Oh, there you go. Okay, and then Jean and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, DEP number 250-1080 for Marsha Godfrey, 301 South Worcester Street. And I believe this is the filing where additional information came in, and I see there was a draft a draft set of conditions. But do we have a representative for the applicant to make any comments on this?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, for the record, Tim McGuire, wetland scientist from Garter Consulting. I apologize, but I don't think this hearing is going to be as fun as the previous, so everyone bear with me. There were some minor revisions made to the site plans. It was pointed out that a couple of the flags were labeled incorrectly, a couple of the revised flags. E46R, E47R were just labeled as E46 and 47. Likewise, with mean annual high water, 36R, it was just labeled as 36. So we did have the minor revisions made. At this point, all the flags that have been revised with Art Allen in the field are shown on the plan.
Tim, just to know, is it possible that you can share that plan just for everyone
Absolutely.
To take a peek at it?
Sure. So the E-series flags over here, these, by the way, these were hand delivered to John Thomas earlier in the office in town hall as well as digitally submitted. So these flags previously, the issue was they just said, so as a reminder, we have the wetland line, the previous wetland line shown in a lighter hatching, and the darker revised flags with an R shown here. So this is where it previously was. This is where it was moved to. The issue was the labels matched up. They both said E46 instead of the revised one saying E46R. So that revision has been made. Likewise with mean annual high water 36R. I believe with this one, this was just shown as mean annual high water 36, and the surveyors just didn't, they omitted the previous 36. So now the revision has been made to the new line.
All right. And so John Thomas, as I understand, all the information needed is in, and to the extent that the ORAD can be issued. Is that a fair summary?
That is a fair summary, Julian.
All right. Any further comments from members of the commission, questions, or any member of the audience at this time?
Julian, I'm sorry. What the question was about the what was it that you were asking John whether it was taken care of?
Whether we had all the information submitted in order to close the hearing and issue the ORAD.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, John, do you have the ORAD ready, or we just closing tonight?
Yeah, I sent it over via email.
Yeah, it came through late, and I just happened to see it and print it. It's fairly discreet, but we can potentially act on that once we close and have finished other business.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file 250-1080.
Second.
We have a motion made by Lisa, seconded by Dan Doyle, for closing the hearing for file number 250-1080, and ORAD, NRAD discussion. So again, voice vote. So we'll start with Dan Pearson and Lisa. How do you vote?
Aye.
And Dan Doyle and Ron?
Aye.
And Jean and Carrie?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So the motion carries. We've closed that. We can act on the ORAD when we've taken care of our final items.
Great, thank you very much. Did you want me to hang on for that if there was any issues or questions? Or
I don't think there are any issues, but John Thomas, do you want to comment on, there's no need for Tim to answer any specifics, I don't think.
No, I mean, the minor modifications reflect what Art was sent in his September 28th memorandum. So I'm comfortable with the commission closing it. Just a reminder that the special conditions are going to say that it's per plan, not for the site. So for instance, if you're going to do any work outside the realm of that, what's shown on the plan, you're going to have to come back.
absolutely, thank you very much. And when the final is ready, if you could mail it to my office rather than the applicant, we would appreciate that. All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You bet. All right, so I believe item G is next. It is file number 250-1083 concerning 60R Reservoir Street. This is continued from September 27th, and let the record show this property is contiguous. It's an abutting property, so I will need to recused, and I believe, Lisa, you'd be willing to take over discussion on this?
Yep. So I actually went out to the site, boy, when was it now? August? No, September, I think it was the last day
About
of
2
September.
weeks ago, Lisa.
When was it?
It was about 2 weeks ago, Lisa.
2 weeks ago, could have been 2 months ago, I can't remember. So I walked the site with Matt and the homeowner, and we went over some of there was a few discrepancies with our, our fence and our postings versus the pool fence. They were a little too close together. It didn't make sense. So we adjusted some of those things. And then the homeowner indicated that they wanted to formalize a path. There's already a path and a tree clearing to the edge of the reservoir, the edge of the wetlands. It's very undulating. I don't know what the builder did when they built it, but it's an ankle twisting exercise to even walk down this thing. So they wanted to formalize it, and I suggested mulch or a permeable surface. So they went with the, I think, permeable pavers.
Permeable pavers, yeah.
Yeah. So they sent in a revised plan. It looked good. I think you just left, there's one section of, I think, the old fence that was left on there, Matt, but
Okay.
I think they just forgot to get rid of it. So I indicated to John today that I think we were good to go for issuing the order. So there's nothing else that's outstanding. They provided a revised plan. Unless you found something that was missing, John Thomas, but.
No, I thought the project seems good to go. Seems like they did everything that was asked the commission previously in meeting minutes.
Okay. So do any commission members have any questions? Okay, I need a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing on file number 250-1083.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Dan Doyle to close, second by Kerry. All those in favor, Dan Pearson and Dan Doyle,
Aye.
Ron and Kerry,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
and I'll throw in an aye.
And I will throw in an abstention.
And Julian abstains. Okay, so I believe John sent us the draft order of conditions earlier this afternoon. I think it's boilerplate plus a few other conditions. So we'll take that under consideration at the end of this meeting.
Okay.
Issue
Is that something I can pick up at town hall tomorrow, or the order of conditions?
I can try to have it ready for tomorrow.
Or do you email it to me? I'm not sure what the process is.
Well, it's gonna be the original, so I just need to
Okay.
get the signatures from all the members.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so Julian, I think we're back to you.
Yeah, and just, I don't know if you have to get hard signatures considering that we're under remote meeting conditions for
Yeah, we
this.
haven't been.
Because the only thing I've been signing the only thing I've been signing is the meeting minutes, where they're going to be permanent record. But I think we have just been indicating that they were electronic signatures. So
Yeah.
you can probably file off a copy tomorrow.
Okay, I'll do
All
that.
right, so our next item
Thank you.
is discussion. Yeah, and just to remind the applicant or the representative of the applicant, there's always a 10-day appeal period. So that kind of restricts your activities during that 10-day window.
Okay.
Or you can proceed at your own risk, because if somebody appeals it, then sometimes you have to stop.
All right.
All right, so our next
Thank
item is, you're welcome. Next item is Woodland Green. Steve Bishop, I believe, I brought this up with regard to maintenance of a retention pond. It had two items that he was considering. I think that's an algicide, and another was an herbicide. And I think the discussion at that time was who's going to be applying it, And I think that having a licensed and certified applicator is an appropriate recommendation. And as this was a maintenance activity, it does not require any kind of hearing. But I think just a letter stating that these agents should be applied by a licensed applicator is a reasonable thing for us to recommend. So I don't know if we need a vote on that or just, a voice direction to John Thomas to send such a letter. Any comment?
It's just a discussion, so I don't think we need a vote.
Yeah, I think that recommendation sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so if we're all set with that, then.
Julian, I have one thing, and I'm not sure if it falls under discussion or old business, and I didn't reasonably anticipate it 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We had talked to a couple of Girl Scouts at the last meeting about their projects, and I just had a question from one of them for the commission. It doesn't require a vote. It's just sort of a discussion. It was sort of the last thing that hadn't been finalized with Jen.
Yeah.
And so I will bring it up whenever. If now is good, then I will.
I think this is fine because I think our next item is review draft minutes and then a couple of orders of conditions.
All right. So I did a site walk with the girls before they had their volunteer event on Saturday. We identified the trails that were going to be kept open and the trails that were going to be closed. They weren't really official trails. And we also sort of figured out how to block off that obstacle course back at the end of Edith Reed because it's really in dangerous conditions right now. There are trees down and the equipment is old. The one thing that hadn't been finalized were the signs. And I'm not sure if the commission has any objections. They're just wooden signs with vinyl lettering over it, and they'll be weatherproofed. And they'll just replace the current signs or be placed where the signs are now missing, using the same names that Edith Reed used for the names of the trails, the names of the ponds. And so I just wanted to make sure that the commission was okay with that, and I can give that message back to Michaela and Abigail.
Well, it sounds fairly non-controversial. Any further comments?
I didn't think so.
Oh, yes, but not on that. And we can take my question later, take it now. Last meeting, we said that we'd include Jen in the name of Edith Reed. And I was supposed to write something, but I should have gotten further instruction on what I should, I'm not even sure whether I should be making a sign as Dan Doyle might have suggested, or whether I'm writing a letter to the selectmen or writing a letter from us to, so if we can just decide, I'm writing some sort of letter to someone that says we're naming Camp Edith Reed, we're naming it Jen's Woods at Camp Edith Reed, or
Dan, my understanding is because we own it, we can name it anything we want. We don't have to get permission from anybody. Jen had sent me, trying to find it in my inbox. She sent me a markup of a new sign for Edith Reed, and I went ahead and said, that's great, but where is it?
If it's like a PDF or anything, Adobe, like we're talking about me making a sign or a few signs. If it's like an Adobe file or Adobe Illustrator, we can just digitally print whatever you have or whatever she had.
Okay. Let me send that to everybody after this call, because she sent me the Edith Reed sign, and I said, well, hey, now is our chance to embellish this and add Jennifer's name to it. So I sent it back. Oh, here it is. Here it is. This is in Publisher. Oh, okay. I don't know how to share screen. How do I share a screen?
At the bottom, the green button.
there we go.
The green arrow.
I had to make you co-host. Sorry, Lisa.
Okay. So now can I do it?
You should
Okay.
be able to, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, be careful, Lisa. The next thing is we'll be making a chair.
No. So, whoops. So Jennifer sent me the attached. Why can't I go larger? And I added what's in red. Oh, for God's sake. I'm not used to this program. So she just said Edith Reed Conservation Land. So I was just playing around with it. I said, well, what do we want to do? We want to call it Carlino Woods at Edith Reed. And then, something underneath it dedicated to Jen Carlino, Norton Conservation Commission Director from, I don't know what year she started. So,
23 years ago.
yeah, I don't know. So
Had to be circa 2000, right?
1999 or whatever. Yeah.
Or 99, yes,
Yeah.
not 98.
So anyway, I don't know what we think of this, or
Yeah.
because I know, Dan, you mentioned that you wanted to leave the Edith Reed in there.
Yeah, we're not
Well,
seeing
I-
a share if you're
You
able
know
to.
what? I don't care all that much. I just,
How come
I'd
you
like to keep Edith Reed somewhere in there just because of the historic nature.
it would
I'm
be
also
nice.
affiliated with Girl Scouts.
I
So.
mean, it would be nice to keep Edith,
Okay, so
Ooh.
can you see that now?
something.
We can.
Okay. So she had what was in green, and I just added the red.
Yeah, that looks,
Yeah, no, that looks like a great concept. And I like the name too, Carlino with
Yeah.
Edith Reed.
maybe move,
Well, Dan, I don't make stuff look pretty. I just get it down there. So you can make it look pretty, okay?
well, I don't have Adobe anything. I have other things, but
This is actually in Publisher, so I don't even know what the hell it was. But
You know
anyway.
what? I'm going to take a screenshot. Don't do anything. Let me just,
I can send it to you, Dan.
oh, or you could send it to me.
I can send it to you. So
Send
I
it to
guess,
me as well.
yeah, I'll send it to everybody. So
I'll do a mock-up of it and send a proof of the sign to everybody. I don't know if it would happen this week. It might be next week, but yeah, I could do that in the next couple weeks.
Okay. let me get the date. I'll get the start date from her.
So I take it that this is the sign that's going at the front of the land, and there will not be another sign or signs. Is that correct?
I don't know where she intended this. I mean, she was having this sign made, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what I can ask her what her intention was as to where to put it. Is it the entrance, or is it at the where the gate is further down, so it doesn't get? I mean, it's a tight entrance in and out of there. I wouldn't want to see it at the very entrance.
What about at the lodge?
Well, and I don't think there's anything that says we can't do more than one sign, and we might even. Are there any trails that are unnamed?
That are
They're all-
unnamed?
Oh,
I think there might have been.
Because we can easily give her a trail or two as well.
Jen's Trail. I like it.
yep.
And there is a sign at the street that says Edith Reed with the address. So I would assume we'd be replacing that so that people know that it's Carlino's Woods at Edith Reed.
And then maybe one if there's like a kiosk near the lodge.
There's a kiosk in the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, let's replace all of them with Jen's name on them, and then give her a trail or two.
I'm sure she'd be very appreciative of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Yep, me too.
All right, and so I think for discussion of additional signs, we can bring that up pretty much any meeting that it works for.
Okay, so there's no letter needed anyone about anything.
I don't
don't-
think so.
Yeah.
Super.
All right. So with regard to the issue that Carrie brought up, it refreshed my memory exactly what the details were that we just needed to agree on. And it sounded non-controversial.
Yes, so they're just replacing or adding signs to identify locations like the Frog Pond, and the names of trails that have names.
So nothing
Very
is
simple
changing.
signs, nothing controversial. I thought they looked fine. Because it hadn't been finalized before Jen left, I just wanted to make sure that nobody had any objections or, wanted to see them beforehand. But they were pretty clear on where to do it. I haven't seen it since then, but I guess it was a very successful event on Saturday and they had great weather for the trail clearings.
Okay. So we're all set with that item, and we're all set with the first sign issue, and then we'll be open to adding signs of the specific trails as it becomes appropriate. All right. So our next item, it looks like, is review draft minutes of September 27th. I looked through my copy of it. It seems.
Julian, I would like to make a suggestion that we table that. There are some things that I need clarification from Megan on the Bernies and Phils. Before we issue those, we need to revisit the recording.
Okay.
So I would like to defer those to the next hearing, if possible.
All right. I think that was the last item in the agenda, or in the minutes. So if you remember what page, because I don't see that.
What's that?
The discussion about Bernie and Phil's in the minutes. We're talking about All right. Here we are. So it is on page 9. Is that? Yeah, pages 9 and 10. So you're saying that needs to be expanded a lot, or just?
I believe the motion included the discussion of the lack of the applicant requesting a continuance. So we need to make sure that makes it into the record if that's the case.
Yeah. All right. So so you need the information about. So motion to deny for lack of information.
Yeah. Megan's going to listen to the transcript again to make sure he captured everything.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, but the summary is there has been no adequate information provided. So.
Right. This one's really important, Julian. It's probably
I agree.
It's going to be appealed. So I believe there was more information that's on the tape, if you will, that needs to go into this.
Okay. No, that's very valid and reasonable. But we are not on shaky grounds on this. It was 2 years.
Oh yeah.
No information provided, and I will go further. That it basically appeared to be designed to avoid review and avoid an enforcement order. So, it was not necessarily a benign strategy on their part.
Right.
So, and I feel completely comfortable with the action that we took.
Yeah.
All right,
Just want
so,
to make sure the record's right. That's all.
all right, so we'll add additional information there. We have the order of resource area delineation that, and I don't know if we probably need to act on that tonight. And if you all have access to your email, at this time, it came through, let's see. It came through at
12:19. 12:19 today.
Is that the?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Here.
Yeah, I sent a bunch of emails. Sorry.
Yeah, it was 12:19, Julian.
You're on a different clock because mine says 12:12.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is 12:19. You're right. 12:12. Sorry.
All right. So it is on. I think it's the first. Yes, it's the first. Oh, that's the ORAD form. So it's the fourth item on the fourth attachment there.
It's the ORAD for 301 South Worcester. Is that where we are?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
So, and if people have access, they can open that and review it. But this is pretty straightforward. There's no work obviously being permitted, and it's
So yeah, it's a reiteration of all the resource areas in the findings.
yes.
There's no conditions because there's no project. So it's just reiterating what the resource areas are. So. Okay. And so John, did Jennifer prepare this or did you today?
So she prepared it. I reviewed it and cross-referenced it with the current plan that we have.
Okay.
And took a look at it. The only real thing that I really added was the section where it says no work is associated with this. And then, for instance, the second line down, which says it's per plan, per the plan that's there, and it only confirms the resource areas on said plan. Because a lot of times potential applicants feel that they have the ability to just proceed with work. And I just want to make it clear that it's per whatever's on this plan. So it's for a larger lot. So I just don't want them to think that there's no resource areas, that exist on the other section of the lot. They're going to have to come back if they want to do that because we didn't look at that.
Okay. So I guess I'll make a motion to issue the order of resource area delineation or determination. Why do I get that messed up?
Delineation.
Delineation for, let's see, that was 301. Oh, where am I?
So it's file number 250-1080.
Thank you. 250-1080.
Okay.
So we have a motion made by Lisa, seconded by Dan Doyle to accept the order of resource area delineation from 250-1080. So again, we'll do a roll call. Yes, we have a question?
The question, yes. I thought you said we were talking about an ORAD, in which case it's 1082. If it's 1080 is an ANRAD.
Right, but Dan, the application that they file is an ANRAD. We issue an ORAD. That's the permit.
Yeah, the wording.
Oh, okay.
The wording is.
Right.
Oh, I see.
It's the AN part. It stands for abbreviated notice.
Sorry.
Of resource area delineation, and then
Got it.
our final thing is the order of resource area delineation.
Okay.
So we have a motion made by Lisa, seconded by Dan Doyle. We're going to do a roll call vote, beginning with Lisa and Dan Pearson.
Aye.
Aye.
And Dan Doyle and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And then Jean and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye, so that motion carries. Now, it's my understanding that the last item is concerning the order of conditions for file 250-1083, which is 60R Reservoir Street, I will need to recuse.
Yeah.
And unless there are any further items, I am going to turn over the chair to Lisa and say, see you next time.
All right.
Good night, Julian. Good
And,
night.
Go watch the game, Julian.
Okay, and John, nice to have you on board.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Very good. So good evening, everybody.
Good night, Julian.
Good night, Julian.
So we're looking at draft order of conditions 250-1083. It was in the same email that John sent this afternoon at 12:12. John, I think the only comment I had was permit authorized construction of in-ground pool, deck, patio, and fencing. The one thing that's missing is the 3-foot wide permeable paver pathway up to the edge of the BVW.
Okay. I'll add verbatim what you just said.
Okay. So other than that, I mean, the rest of them are just administrative. The initial were just the findings and what's authorized.
And I did add that section you asked me to about the lawn clippings and landscape debris. So
Okay. Okay. So if everybody's okay with that, I need a motion to issue the order.
Just quickly, the pathway to the pool, correct?
Yes, it's already there's no vegetation there. They already cleared it up to the edge of the reservoir. So
Right. You
it's just formalizing a path. It's
pavable.
in terrible shape right now.
I'll make a motion to, was it close the pub? No,
To issue.
to issue.
All right, a motion to by Dan Pearson to issue the order of conditions for 60R file 250-1083. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Carrie. Roll call, Dan Pearson, Dan Doyle.
Aye.
Oh, who did I miss? Ron and Jean.
Aye.
And Carrie.
Aye.
And I'll throw in.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Boy, I think we might be done. John, we're usually quicker than this, but this was a long one.
No, it's okay. I understand. It's fine.
Plus the minute taker is amateur. In regard to which, I have one more question. Matt Collins, what is your designation, as it were? Are you with a company? Are you a representative for I know you're a representative. Who are you? Sorry.
Sorry, I own Apollo Pools and Spas.
Thank you.
I'm putting in the swimming pool.
Got it.
He was just making sure that everything went through.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Niles from Zenith couldn't. He had another conservation meeting tonight. So
Okay.
Well, thank you, Matt.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
thank you.
So John Thomas, just 2 seconds. I just sent an email to Megan about the formatting of the new agenda, which I think we should talk about. I think you're going to work that out with her. But one thing I would like to see again, besides it being double-sided, not to maybe kill a branch.
I agree. I noticed that.
Yeah, we need to see the next meetings in the corner. So if she can follow the protocol that we had when Melissa was here in terms of how to set that up, because when we're continuing a hearing, we want those dates at our fingertips. So Jen used to put the next hearing dates through like the next 2 or 3 months up in the top right-hand corner.
Okay.
So we could easily reference that.
So if I go back to 2019, I'm going to find the old agenda kind of format.
Yeah, probably up till a couple months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Literally two meetings ago, it's there.
Okay. So early 2021.
Yep. And we want the preamble for the Zoom call if possible. We're just needy. And then
I will make it so that way it's easy for all the members. Okay.
Well,
I do like how your comments are organized, though. It's organized very well as far as your comments go.
Yes,
I agree.
Those
I
are
like to-
easier to see. Yep.
I like to be to the point, less worrying about what's going on for certain projects.
Yeah.
You guys are all busy anyway, so
As long as we're talking about saving paper, do we really need that public participation statement? I mean, do we legally need?
till April 2022 we do.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So we're.
I mean, unless Julian and myself just keep a copy with us, we don't have to repeat it on everybody's, right? We're probably the only two that would be saying it, but is that what you meant, Dan? Just by not
Well,
including
yeah.
it?
I mean, I have a copy, obviously.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just trying, and there, I guess the one at the end, we have to keep that, the one about, well, whatever it is that they put at the end, that public remote part, that big long,
Public remote participation speech.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it should be in there. And the link to the Zoom calls are in there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
All right. Not to be a pain, but so Jen used to send those out, so it was a live link right in our email.
Do you want me to send it out in a live link in the email?
Yeah, because I'm scrambling at the last minute trying to find it at the end of this document, and then
Yeah. No, that's fine.
it was not cooperating, and I was like, I just need this link.
Whatever's
What's the agenda? You could just copy and paste it in the.
that's
Dan.
that's what I know.
It's also in the calendar invitation.
Oh,
It's
there's
it was a live link.
I didn't know there was a calendar invitation.
Yeah,
That's great,
yeah. And Megan sends out a calendar invitation.
too. Okay, good to know.
Oh, right. Oh, there's a link there too?
Yeah, it's a live link.
Oh,
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
I never looked there. Okay.
Well, also, John, you might not know this, but Jen was in the habit of sending all members of the commission coffee and donuts at their individual residences.
Well, I do know where you all live now because I have your list. So if there ends up being donuts at your door, you did something nice for me.
Or John.
Uh,
No,
I think
seriously, welcome, John. It's good to
I
have
think-
you.
Well,
I think Carrie's gonna get some donuts, so don't worry.
all right. So if anybody have any more comments, questions? Just me, the PIA with the agenda, but okay.
Oh, they were all good points.
Okay, I think we can make a motion to adjourn at 8:28 p.m.
So moved.
And our usual sign off, John, we don't take a vote, we just wave goodbye.
Have a good night.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.
have a good night.